Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. We're on season 4, episode number 42. This is the Songs edition. Andy, how are you?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. It's the last day of August 31st, 2023, Labor Day weekend coming up. Tonight is our Songs episode, Songs edition, album review. We're going to cover an album we've never, or even a band we've never covered before. Andy, we've almost completed 4 seasons and we've never done Fleetwood Mac.
Which is odd. Yeah, there were more late 70s, early 80s, not our spectrum there, but still a well-known band, very influential band.
Well, I had looked through and I thought that we've done at least one of their albums at one time, or at least the greatest hits or something, but we never did. So I picked the album Rumours to discuss today.
All right.
Here's the album cover, Andy. Once again, Fleetwood Mac always had pretty good album covers, album design, design work. And this is kind of clean and simple. But remember, it's 1977. And so this is old school for our newer listeners. You know, this goes way back. But for us, this was kind of songs we heard in junior high and high school. So Rumours is the 11th studio album by British-American rock band Fleetwood Mac, released February 1977. Now, the recording sessions took place in the aftermath of several relationship breakups among the band members. Keyword, band members, in addition to heavy drug use, both of which shaped the album's direction and lyrics. And so, Andy, we know, from listening to many songs in the past, and including a lot of Kiss songs and lyrics from Gene Simmons, a lot of love songs, a lot of songs about relationships, of course. But this was relationships almost kind of like Heart, where the relationships was in and amongst the band members themselves. Then you write the lyrics, then you sing the songs, and if you're broke up or not with that person, you're still performing then on stage, on tour, in the recording studio. I just can't even imagine what the band members are going through when they did this. And obviously, drugs, heavy drugs, it does say, was in use. So, they recorded this with the intention of making a pop album. Now, what's your thoughts on that, Andy? They wanted to do a pop album that would expand on the commercial success of their previous album from 1975, their self-titled album Fleetwood Mac, which was huge. And so they wanted to ride the coattails. But do you think that was a good idea?
Yes and no at the time. I mean, they said this was their 11th album.
Yep. Yeah, they've been around the block.
So it's been around for a while. Maybe we kind of wanted to start, spread your wings, get something different. And music was changing a lot in 77. Disco was dying. Hard rock was starting to pick up a little bit. Punk was kind of picking up a little bit. So they kind of had the pop rock, their genre, all to themselves, really. I mean, yeah, Heart was around. There's other bands around, don't get me wrong, but they kind of were kings of their castle. So they had the chance to try something. And I think Fleetwood Mac was comfortable enough in their popularity where if we try something, we fall on our face, we come back with the next album. It wasn't a make or break if they change it. It was let's change it and see what happens.
Gotcha. I see. So basically, they had the luxury of this wasn't a make it or break it. They were already coming off a good album, and they had a lot of fans, a lot of support, and the record label gave them lots of money. And so
which they started up their nose.
We'll get to that later, but the amount of drugs and drugs and alcohol that were available to them basically for free, and the money that they had coming at them to go to parties and whatnot. And this was 1975, in the height of, Cal Berkeley was going on. They were in the San Francisco area over there, Sausalito in the Bay in 1975, when the height of all this stuff was going on, and the hippie movement. They weren't up in Washington, Vancouver, Washington, like Heart, kind of out of this. They were in the mix of it. And I think that's what blew me away by reading this. They were in the middle of everything, and this was just amazing. The amount of, in not a good or a bad way, but the amount of the drug use, I just can't even imagine that everything was right there at their fingertips. And they mentioned the word excess, the excess that was there available and what they did. And then So you throw some relationships in the mix, who knows? Now you have a number one album. Of course, that sells. Now, Rumors was an instant commercial success, selling over 10 million copies within just the first month of its release. First month, Andy.
Yeah.
Now, we do most of our album reviews here with heavy metal and some 80s and 90s hair band metals that don't sell 10 million in a lifetime in a career for a band.
Right.
This was 10 in a month on a single album. I mean, that's how big they were. Now, this album won Album of the Year in the 1978 Grammy Awards, received diamond certifications in several countries, including the UK, Canada, Australia, and the US, where it was certified 21 times platinum. I'll repeat that, 21. And over worldwide, they've sold 40 million copies. Now, this
Jeez.
this album is the sixth best selling of the 70s. Now, you know the amount of music, good music that came out in the 70s?
Oh yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
talking, just, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin kind of stuff. Not
Yep.
not to mention the Doors and everything else that came out.
The Beatles,
This was the
Elvis.
sixth best-selling album, and the Rolling Stones were in that mix. I mean,
Yep.
I was blown away by some of these stats. This album is actually the ninth best-selling album of all time.
Jeez.
So, often considered by the fans, or often considered even by Fleetwood Mac, this is their magnum opus. Rumors has frequently been cited as one of the greatest albums of all time. This album was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in
Wow.
2003. Now, I don't know if I've even ever heard of that.
Oh yeah, I didn't know they could put albums in the Hall of Fame.
So, it's the genre. The genre is pop rock and soft rock. So it really spreads the males, females. It covers a lot of demographic. It's only 38 minutes, 55 seconds long, recorded 1976, released in 77 on Warner Brothers. So they released the songs Go Your Own Way, December of 76, huge. Then they released Dreams. Then they released Don't Stop. Then they released You Make Love and Fun. It all went into the top 10. So, yeah, it's an interesting in Rolling Stone's list of 500 greatest albums of all time. It's obviously in that. It's also mentioned as significant by the Library of Congress has this album because it's deemed culturally and historically significant for the culture. I just so it's selected for preservation in the National Recording Registry for the Library of Congress. So some of the stuff, our average listeners, Andy, just like some heavy metal. They like some hard rock. They like some good music, but I don't think many of them are aware of the Library of Congress for these albums. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So these songs did get extensive radio exposure.
Now you mentioned they only released 4 songs off this album.
4 songs.
Yeah, my favorite song is one they never released, and that's Secondhand News.
Yes. And most songs are people going to know the songs.
Yeah, because you still hear them on the radio later on, or it's been in a movie or TV show, or we had this thing in the day, kids, called a jukebox. You play the B-side every now and then. That's where these songs became. They were another one of those bands that just became popular that way. Like we said, the pre-show meeting, they were a 3-headed monster as a singer with 3 different band with 3 different singers. So selling the whole album, if you like just Lindsey Buckingham and his 3 songs, you still bought the whole album. If you like just Christine McVie and her 3 or 4 songs, you bought the whole album. Unlike today, this album, if it was released today, you could just pick the few songs you liked. And I don't know if they would have done the sales.
Yeah, there are bands that have done that with multiple vocalists that draw fans from 2 different sides, and both groups of fans end up buying the whole album, and that works. And for Fleetwood Mac, it certainly worked. So I know we've been talking a lot about let's go through the personnel, and then I've got some good stories here for you, because a lot of people can't name all the band members for Fleetwood Mac. So Lindsey Buckingham on this album. You could name them all, right?
Yes.
And I am one that could not. I'm not a big Fleetwood Mac fan, but this is interesting. We know all the players involved. Lindsey Buckingham, guitars, Vocals, Stevie Nicks. Vocals, Christine McVie. Recently died last November.
Yep.
Vocals, John McVie. Bass, and that was her husband at one time. Her husband. So now you got a marriage in the mix here. And then Mick Fleetwood on drums.
He's the gentleman standing in that picture.
He's the gentleman standing there. He was the dada, Big Papa, Big Daddy. What they call him? What was his nickname there?
I don't know. He was awesome though.
He was the guy. So here is the stories as far as the Rumours. Now here's how the name of the album got going. So press intrusions into the band members' lives led to inaccurate stories, and this is where the Rumours came up. So when I read this, think of the TV program TMZ, or think of today's world, Twitter, people following, and social media of things like this, and how it could have gotten out of control, and how bad this got for this band, but how easy they had it because they weren't living in today's world. Let's leave it at that. If they were today's, so the press was in their life. So Christine McVie was reported to have been in the hospital with a serious illness, while Buckingham and Nicks were declared the parents of Fleetwood's daughter Lucy after being photographed with her. They said, no, that's not it. There's a photograph floating around. Are they the real parents?
Yep.
So they had to dispel that. The press also wrote about a rumored return of the original Fleetwood Mac members, because this was their 10-year anniversary was coming up. And are they going to reunite with the original band? Stories of that got out. They said, no, there's no reunion, knock it off, guys. This is like a TMZ. They had to keep doing the rumors. Around the same time, the original band members were thinking, hey, is this true? What's the deal? Are we getting back together? And so they're spending all this time dispelling the rumors. Now, the Fleetwood has also noted the tremendous emotional sacrifices made by everyone just to attend the studio work. And they had to get rid of their previous producer. They got a different producer, and so lots of things were going on. They were basically spending all their time dispelling the rumors. So they called the album Rumours. Now they're also not helping the cause by helping create these, because the rumors of themselves were in the relationships within the band. So it was interesting. Now, the interesting thing is here, I'll get your thoughts on this, Andy. In February, they started recording at the record plant in Sausalito, California. They hired the engineers. They kept getting things ready, and they rented out some condominiums near the city's harbor. The male guys in the band stayed at the studio's lodge in the adjacent hills, and they started recording. Lots of things. They tried a lot of different things, and they found out they had problems with speakers. They had problems. They found out the rooms, the ambiance was not right. The acoustics were not right. And so they did a lot of things and had to redo them. And it got to be a tall order. Now, here is where it comes in. Fleetwood and McVie, the McVies came from an improvisational blues rock background. Okay, so they came from an improvisational background. Lindsey Buckingham, was a classically trained musician, and so when they jammed, it was a lot of give and take. There were different backgrounds of these folks. Lindsey Buckingham, very, very talented. The rest are talented. But Lindsey's background, Lindsey Buckingham, very talented individual. And so they had to get on the same page when they jammed. They had to get on the same similar sense of the musicality. And what's your thoughts, Andy, on Lindsey Buckingham as a musician, as far as how talented this man is?
I thought Lindsey Buckingham was so talented. His solo stuff, because when they all kind of went their solo ways at the end, that was the MTV era, and I was kind of a big into the Lindsey Buckingham stuff then, which got me back into the older Fleetwood Mac stuff, going back in his catalog there. And he just I don't want to say he was ahead of his time. He wasn't that type of talent, but he was a little bit ahead of everybody else. He pictured it and got it right away. So I was appreciated his work.
Yeah, and what they did here at this at the record plant studio is they tried doing things. I mentioned a little bit, moving the drums, recording the drums from a different room with a partition around it, and without a partition around it, with the keyboards kept away from the drums to record it that way, and sometimes with the keyboards close to the drums. They tried all these things. They even tried using different sets of microphones and amplifiers that were closer, that were farther away, all these things. And after trying all these things, after 9 days, they discovered, well, you could just adjust the sound effectively using the API mixing console.
Yeah.
And remember, the hourly rate of these studios to rent, to get in the studio to do this was very expensive. They worked trying all
Oh
these
yeah.
things. 9 days later, they said, well, you can just, push these buttons and turn these knobs and get the same feel. We have to do all this stuff. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to be smarter than the
Yes.
system, and it didn't work.
Sometimes Fleetwood Mac would also create the best music when in the worst shape, meaning when tensions were in the band, when there were tensions between band members sometimes made the band, better, better quality, very interesting.
Yep.
So now it gets into here the promotion and the release. They had it done. They planned a tour. Now they planned a worldwide tour. They had dates set up. Album wasn't ready. Album wasn't ready to be released. They had to back it off, push some of these things back, and cancel, and then start it up again. So it was really it wasn't fun. I got the feeling this was a very stressful time for everybody because things just were not working. There was perfectionists involved with it. There was the overload of drugs. There was the relationships. But anyway, it came down to the fact that most of the lyrics were focused on the various separations that became apparent to the band only in hindsight. Some of these problems that they had turned out to be good songs and good lyrics because you look back at them and almost laugh. You Make Loving Fun is Christy McVie, her boyfriend at the time was Fleetwood Mac's lighting director, whom she dated after splitting with John.
Right.
So, and then the song "Go on Your Own Way"
Yep.
is a little more pessimistic, but it's they're all relationship songs, good, bad, and indifferent, and that's it. The song "Don't Stop," written by Christy, a song about optimism. And so the music features soft rock, pop rock sound, and a lot of good stuff. Gold Dust Woman. Once again, it talks about Stevie Nicks' struggle with cocaine addiction. So the reception was very good. Most of the people reviewing it loved the album, loved the songs, and they tried not to have a filler, not a single filler. They wanted to have all these songs that could be released potentially as a single. All these songs in the album could hold and stand on its own. That's a tough thing to do. We talked about that with Michael Jackson on Thriller.
Yeah.
Def Leppard, Pyromania. They wanted every single song to be perfect, and that's tough to do. The album was released after a debut at number 7. It peaked at the top of the charts in the UK in 1978 in January. And in the UK, 11th best-selling album in UK history. That I didn't know.
Yep.
Mick Fleetwood has called Rumours the most important album we ever made because of its success allowed the group to continue recording for years to come. So here's a track listing. Secondhand News, like you said, not released. Very good song.
Yep.
And once again, these songs, Andy, all 3 to 4 minutes long. Nothing big, nothing long.
Yeah, no big guitar solo or drum solo in it, just boom, boom, boom.
It just works. Secondhand News, next song is Dreams. Lead vocals by Nicks. Secondhand News, lead vocals was Buckingham. Song 3, Never Stop, or Never Going Back Again, is Buckingham. Song 4, Don't Stop, with McVie and Buckingham. Next song is Go Your Own Way, sung by Buckingham. Songbird next by McVie. Next song, The Chain. This is Buckingham with Nix and McVie. You Make Love and Fun. McVie, I Don't Want to Know. Nix with Buckingham. Oh Daddy. McVie. That's the nickname there for Mr. Mick Fleetwood.
Yeah. Oh, Daddy.
He was called the Daddy. Oh Daddy. And then Gold Dust Woman. Very good song. Possibly the best on the album, I think, as far as personal favorites. So Andy, what do you think? Lots going on there. I had a lot of information there. Was some of that good, or some of that basically?
Yeah, it was real good stuff, and a lot of it is, there was no pun intended. There was so many rumors about the band at the time. Like you said, you're singing about a relationship that's gone sideways on you or bad on you, and he's playing guitar to the song, or he's the lighting guy to the song, or he's your ex-husband over on bass. I think they also knew I could leave and go on, but am I going to be as popular and have this camaraderie and these other talented musicians with me if I did? I think they just appreciate the music so much, it was worth the heartache and the pain to make a good song.
To fight it, yeah. So they went with it, but I got to ask yourself, for the listeners in the crowd there, ask yourselves, could you do that? Could you jump in after a relationship like that, or a divorce, or something that ended horribly, and say, okay, I'll see you in the studio there Monday morning at 8:00. See you then. Oh, we got a 9-month tour coming up worldwide.
Yeah.
It's amazing what these guys did. It must not have been fun, but they sure have stories.
I mean, they always say, you don't shit where you eat. You don't date somebody at work. And here, these guys, they did it and made a great career out of it.
Yes, good stuff. Good album. You've got some other notes here coming up, it looks like.
Yep.
Here we go.
Here we are. I got some other things, some stuff. First of all.
Yes.
Last Saturday, I was at Mike Schmidt's backyard party. He is a member. He is Slash and Dustin Bones.
Okay.
Good times. It was good times. I was telling a guy at work about this today. I said, yeah, I went to this guy does Slash and Dustin Bones at this backyard party over there. It was really neat. And he goes, was it any different than like seeing him like at Medina or Route 47 or something like that? I said, yeah, it was different. I said, because here, most of them were all friends already. I met some people from other bands there that we've had on the show. It was just like everybody hanging out, and Dustin Bones was playing. But if you go see it at Medina, it's the same group of people, or not same genre of people, but they're trying to dress in the same clothes they wore when they were 20, and they didn't fit then. Here we were all in our jeans and sweatshirts, because it's kind of chilly that night, and drinking beers and having a good time.
I see, yes.
So it was a little more laid back. And
okay,
I was talking to one guy. I was there early enough. I saw the sound check, and they came out. And they weren't in costume, if you will, doing the sound check. And I looked at one guy. I said, "God, it's like watching Kiss without the makeup. It just you hear them, but you're not seeing them up there. It's like that's not right. Seeing this, it felt wrong. But no, they put on a great show. If you ever get a chance to see Dustin Bones, you need to make that time to go see them.
Now, how often does Mike do this?
Yearly.
Just once a year then?
Yep.
Well,
and it's been a while because of weather and COVID. The last few years have been kind of missed, but this is a yearly thing.
That's fun. I'm going to try to get to that next year then. That sounds like a blast.
Get to some new releases here. Like we said earlier, it's really hard to find a new album release. There's a few albums, but mostly bands are releasing songs to talk about here. And a lot of these are going to be from blabbermouth.net. Lynch Mob has a new album coming out, and their first single, Time After Time, coming. So George Lynch and his band, Lynch Mob. If you're into that, they're pretty good. A lot of these you can find on Spotify. Just look them up. Or go to blabbermouth.net or find our Facebook page, and you'll find these links. KK Downing's KK's Priest. Strike of the Viper single from the Sinner Rides Again album. So they got a new one out. Very good sounding band and then song there. Lita Ford talks about on her interview, she's got a new album coming out. This record is real. So she's got a new one coming out for Lita Ford. Foghat, Dan. Foghat.
Wow.
Sonic Mojo album details. Driving On music video. So Foghat has some new stuff out.
Wow. This is old school.
The older brother will be proud. I mentioned
Yes.
Foghat on the show. Volbeat is working on a new studio album for next year. I don't plan to. I'm kind of into Volbeat. I like listening to them. I don't know if you've ever heard
You
of their
mentioned
stuff.
that. I've not gotten into them yet, but they
Yeah.
sound pretty good. I've heard good things.
Yes, they're. Check them out. Mention my name.
Yes.
Brian Setzer's got a new song coming out. The Devil Always Collects. Big Brian Setzer guy from the Stray Cats.
A local dude, right?
I believe so. Yes. Have to have him on the show, maybe.
Yes.
Get Kevin the intern on that.
Okay.
Him and Oswald can work on that together.
He played up in Maple Plain at the Iron Exchange last year on a free show, I believe.
Yeah, free show was last minute on a Friday night or something like that. Yeah.
It was packed. I stopped in there to get a beer or something, and you could not see the guy.
Well, he's not real tall to start with, so.
Oh, nice.
I just want to remind you that the day without music. Just kidding. I don't know what it's like to have a day without music, so just remember that as you go through life. Some concerts. Our friends, the Motley Crue tribute, Minnesota's Theater of Pain. Here's some of their dates coming up.
Okay.
Pioneer Place Theater in St. Cloud on September 9th. September 30th, Black Horse in Winona. October 7th, the Doghouse in Maplewood with Anthem. October 27th at the Minnesota Music Cafe with Kissin' Time.
That would be that's a big, large venue with the big stage, and you'll see the.
And didn't Crue and Kiss tour together at one time when Crue first started, I thought?
They may have.
Big Guys Barbecue in Hudson on the 28th. Again, Hudson on the 18th, and Shamrocks in St. Paul February 10th. Kind of getting out there, but book those. Shamrocks February 10th.
That'd be
early
good.
Valentine's Day gift. Take the missus to go see.
Pre-Valentine's gift.
Yes.
Yes.
And just to mention again, October 27th, they will be at the Halloween Bash with Kissin' Time.
Okay.
$10. Doors open at 6:30, showtime 8:30. So get there at 10. 2 hours to kill. You can a couple of beers, something to eat. They got some neat stuff to look at there at the Minnesota Music Cafe. So pretty cool thing. Non Grata, here's some of their dates. Iowa and Illinois coming up there for you. September dates, the 9th, 15th, 22, 23. So if you're down that way, highly recommend you go check them out. Tell Talon I said hi.
Yes.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Dan. Shout out to Rick Rock and Roll.
Oh, yes.
Your boys. 2023 Ghosts of Christmas Eve, the best of TSO and more. Now, the tour starts pretty soon, but to keep in Minnesota tradition, the 30th and 31st at XL Energy Center.
Okay.
So plan accordingly if you're going downtown for New Year's Eve, those things. A couple other shows, speaking of the XL Energy Center, a couple shows are in our genre. Eric Clapton, September 14th with Jimmy Vaughn. And Dave Chappelle, September 23rd. So get ready September 23rd for all the local radio stations to have Dave on that morning or coming up to promote it. Dave Chappelle, I don't know if we could have him on the show because we don't have a censor button.
Wow.
He's pretty loose-lipped, but he's funny. I'm a big Dave Chappelle guy. He doesn't hold back. He reminds me a lot of Richard Pryor.
Okay.
He just says stuff. Yeah, their stories are getting to their jokes, ha ha ha, but the language. Richard Pryor dropped a lot of bombs in there. Were they necessary? Yes, no. That's up for a different day. Chappelle's kind of in that same genre.
But it's the delivery.
But it's the delivery, just
so
like
funny.
Just like with Richard Pryor. He said it, but he almost kind of had to say that to make it funny. Because it was the delivery that made it funny, you know. That's another show for another day. And that is all I got here on the Sports and Songs podcast. That's
Well,
my bit. Okay.
that's good stuff. Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle.
Kind of like if you could bring back two bands from the past and current, that'd be a good comedy tour. Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle. That'd be a good one to see together.
Very interesting. Always have good opinions and whatnot as well. Very good comedy. Now, the only last thing I've got for Fleetwood Mac, 1975, when this album was coming out for Rumours, they did a big marketing, very aggressive marketing blitz. And so they wanted to promote this album. And so at the time, Warner Brothers, at the time, they requested 800,000 copies of advanced copies. Warner Brothers did, which was a record at the time.
Yeah.
Just for them, just for Warner Brothers, we want 800,000. It's almost platinum just by the single order itself.
Right.
We want those many advanced copies, and that was a record. That was a historical record for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, a lot of music sold over the years, but this was their record. Fleetwood Mac Rumours, unreal. Now, once again, you don't see that nowadays. It's
digital and stuff. You won't see that
by the individual songs, not the album. But good stuff. I'm gonna listen to this weekend. I think the whole thing again, just to listen to it. It's very good stuff. And once again, listen to it from the music, and then listen to it with the lyrics. A lot of stuff being discussed, a lot of things being talked about there.
10, 11 songs, 40 minutes.
Love it.
It's one of those you could have on in the background and hear the music and enjoy it, but it's also you want to sit and listen to it and enjoy it also.
Very deep. But once again, leave your questions and requests also in comments down below the segment here, and we'll be sure to get to those and answer those. That's all we've got for this week. Anything else, Andy?
That's all I got.
All right, Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. Have a good one. Have a good week.
See ya.
See ya.